Hello and welcome to Murder Dictionary Podcast. My name is Brianna and that is Courtney.
Hello.
So before we get into the case that we're covering tonight and start our new letter of the alphabet, we just wanted to remind you of what you're going to find in the description every week. Each episode description contains links to our social media. If you want to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, you can get updates on when new episodes are coming out, when we have new Patreon episodes released, and a lot of memes and breaking news and stuff like that. We also have links to our Patreon and our thread lists. So if you want to get some merch items like t-shirts and whatnot, that can be found on thread lists. And if you want to join our Patreon, then the link will be in the show notes as well. And that'll be patreon.com/murderdictionarypodcast. We have a few new patrons this week that we wanted to say thank you to. So thank you to Katie, Maisha, Joey, and Laura increased her pledge.
Thank you.
So thanks, you guys. We appreciate you being on Patreon. Like we said a couple weeks ago, we're going to be off a couple times this month because both of us are going on vacations, but we're going to try and put out a Patreon episode soon. Got a couple things ready. We just got to record, and hopefully while we're gone, you'll have a Patreon episode to listen to. Cool?
Sounds cool to me.
We have a new letter.
This is our new letter.
Yeah. We are going to go to letter H for Hitmen.
How exciting.
I don't know, I'm always very drawn to Hitman stories.
Why?
I just think it's very like the epitome of being a sociopath, where it's just human lives equal money. You know?
Yes.
So the psychology of it has always been very fascinating to me. And then we also see that these hitmen have very regular lives, families and wives, children, you know?
Yeah, it's a business.
And to them, it's just going to work like 9 to 5 or something.
It's work.
So it's just always been very fascinating to me. So this week, we are going to talk about Jorge Rivi Ayala.
Yeah, as soon as you're like, Jorge Ayala, who's that? Oh, Rivi from Cocaine Cowboys.
Exactly.
I got you now. On the right track.
And we try and do things that haven't been covered a lot. And I know that Griselda Blanco has been covered in a couple podcasts, but there really hasn't been an episode about Rivi.
And he's a riveting character.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to be told there. And he was the one that eventually really led to her downfall. So, I mean, I think there is a big story to tell, but not a lot of people have really gone into it.
Yeah.
So
it is kind of strange. He's very charismatic.
Yeah.
All these things. Why haven't people dug into him more?
But that's the other thing about hitmen. They're always this like charismatic sort of character that draws you in. They're always good talkers, right? Think about Kuklinski. They can talk. Even if Kuklinski is super monotone or whatnot, he can talk his way out of whatever, right?
Yeah. And, I think actually even like Whitey Bulger would fall into that in like the Boston mob and then, comes to California and he was just recently murdered in prison. But, he was a good talker for a long time. But yeah, you're right. It does go with the silver tongue.
Yep. So Jorge Rivi Ayala was born in Cali, Colombia, but his parents brought him to the U.S. in 1969. One of the things that I was kind of surprised to find out was that he actually came from a really good family and he had this very stable upbringing in Chicago. There wasn't really much to point to like trauma or abuse or anything else that we normally see in these kind of cases, you know?
Just like normal, like Midwest Chicago.
Yeah. It's interesting that there was really not much to report about him, you know? From a very young age, he was extremely talkative and, like we said, very charismatic. He was also really egotistical. He had a big mouth and he had this habit of just constantly bragging.
You see that later.
Yes.
Every time he talks.
He really can't shut up. He's one of those people. And he was like that from a child.
I'm familiar. Very. And it's just, he's always going.
Mm-hmm. He worked as a mechanic at General Motors like his dad, which is where he learned how to break into cars. With the knowledge of how to break into cars, Jorge put together a crew of car thieves, and he set about turning his criminal knowledge into a business. So together, his group of car thieves would steal up to 6 cars a night, which they promptly sold to chop shops for about $200 to $500 each. Since he had a solid job and he came from a very supportive family, he actually didn't need to steal out of, necessity or need for money like a lot of people that we see. Usually when people are stealing, especially in these older stories, we're seeing a lot of poverty, of people that just need to get by, and that wasn't the case with Jorge. He really liked to steal because he liked the criminal lifestyle and he just wanted to be flashy and have more money.
He was bored.
Yeah.
He was like a rich kid that was bored and wanted to try to have street cred.
Yes, I think he liked that just kind of ability to go into this underworld and get by and know different people that were criminals and then drive around these awesome cars and have more money and take girls out and stuff like that.
Yeah, his dad's a straight man. He lives the straight life. So that, and also coming from Colombia, he knows about his dad escaped the criminal lifestyle and now we lead a boring, normal life.
Well, and that wasn't enough for him.
Where did we come from?
Right. He wanted to get back to this criminal lifestyle that he saw when he was little, all these gangsters that he saw rolling around.
Saw them on Instagram, flashing their guns and their jewelry and their tigers.
Rivi actually got into the cartel by accidentally stealing a cartel member's car. And we'll actually see this again and again with Rivi. He's really even though he sought out being a criminal and kind of wanted to be cartel adjacent, he really stumbled into everything by accident.
He's really bad at picking the correct one out of 2 things.
He has the best bad luck.
Horrible.
He fails upward.
He's
right?
terrible at his job.
Yeah.
You wouldn't hire him again. You wouldn't hire him back for the seasonal job. You'd be like, you know what? We had you seasonally. We're going to let you go.
Yeah, this temp's not going to make it to full.
Temp job not working out.
So he accidentally stole this cartel member's car. And when the cartel member came to him and asked him about it, Rivi just said that he had done it. He just flat out admitted it. And he told the guy that he had to give him $500 to get the car back. So the dude told him he has balls and he gave him the $500, which for some reason sounds not truthful to me. This is one of those things where I'm like, is Rivi telling the truth?
No,
is that what
not.
really happened?
That's not what really happened.
Because the way he lays it out is just yeah, I stole this car. I'm super awesome. The guy was like, you're super awesome. And then now I work for the cartel.
Yeah, I'm just such a cool guy. You just give me the 500.
Right.
And I'll just, maybe get it back to you. And that's acceptable? No.
I believe a variation of this sort of happened. You know what I mean? Where the cartel saw him stealing cars and they thought, okay, maybe you could do X, Y, and Z for us. We've got other jobs for you. I just don't see it happening the way he said. If you steal a cartel member's car, you're just getting your ass beat,
Yes.
So it just doesn't make much sense. But that's what he says happened. He tried to get $500 from him. He said, I'll bring you back your car. And the guy was impressed by that, apparently.
So impressive.
Right. So when the cartel member got his car back, he brought Rivi to the trunk of the car. He summoned him over and he popped the trunk. And as the trunk opened, Rivi saw that there was a ton of guns in the trunk. So he offered Rivi $5,000 to take the guns to Miami, and he agreed to do the job.
I mean, a variation, sure.
Yeah, so I believe a variation of that happened, but it was something different. There was a nugget of truth in there, but not the way that he tells it. It just doesn't make sense.
I agree with you.
But either way, somehow he got this job to take these guns to Miami. That must be true, right?
Yeah.
So once he got to Miami, he pretty much just stayed there. And really, for a small-time criminal like Rivi, this was a perfect place to work his way up. Because at that time, in the early 1980s, 70% of all cocaine coming to the U.S. came through Florida.
That's a lot. High numbers.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So this is where all the jobs were. This is where all the criminal and cartel jobs were. And for someone like him who had, a background in car theft, who came from Cali, Colombia, it was easy for him to kind of slip his way into this world.
And, if anyone's going to need a hitman, it's going to be a cartel, theoretically.
Right. So he may have had that in his mind from early on. He makes it sound like he was a reluctant hitman.
Yes.
He paints himself in a picture of like, well, I didn't want to do X, Y,
I
and
was
Z.
just stealing cars.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, he still did it,
I think that the guy called him over to the trunk and is like, I'm going to kill you or take these guns.
Yes,
Probably
it may have
something
been that.
like that. And then it's like, okay, so people want to kill me. I'll just kill people. I
Yeah.
have no problem with that. Let's
It
go
was
to Miami.
Kill or be killed.
Something like
yeah,
that.
at some point. But that does make more
Because
sense.
why else does he, it's going off. But you go back to what you know. If you stay, it's because you're running.
Yeah.
So Rivi's never going to let us know. So
No,
it's cool.
you don't get much truth from him.
No.
So once he did get to Miami, we do know that he was offered a lot more work to do just basically odd jobs for the cartel. While he was working his way up in the ranks in Miami, Jorge would do very low-level tasks, like just delivering drugs from point A to point B, collecting money from people, selling weed, and maybe just a little bit of collections, you know what I mean? Like shaking
Yes.
people down,
Yes.
right? In the early days, working with the Medellin cartel, he earned $1,000 a day, which today would be about $3,000 per day.
That's great.
That's a shit ton of money.
If you have no problem with what you're doing, that's a wonderful day's work.
Right. If you've got loose morals, then you're raking in the cash.
What's the problem? Yeah. But I mean, everyone else, yeah. Hey, that doesn't sound right.
No, there's a reason. Yeah. So in the beginning, the most violent thing that he was asked to do was, like I said, just shake people down when they owed money, beat a couple people up, just low-level stuff. One night, while in a Miami club, Rivi got tipped off by someone in their cartel crew that they all of a sudden needed to leave because there were some guys coming to the club that were about to shoot up the entire place. So Rivi says that he knew one of his friends was in the bathroom doing coke at the time when he got the information. So he ran to the bathroom. He told his friend that they needed to get out of the club immediately. His friend from the bathroom actually knew someone sitting at the table that was the target of the shoot-up. And therefore, by this game of telephone, Rivi accidentally relayed the information to the people who were being targeted.
Rivi, always the victim, Always just, oh, this thing happened and I accidentally ... It's so interesting, isn't it?
But I think that he really, I think he was not so great at things. So
I
he
agree
did completely think that he was the victim because it was this accident of just, oh shit, now I'm the person that told the target. I'm the person that ruined this hit.
Well, he's also a huge talker. So he probably blew this himself. And then, I got this friend who said something. Like, no, you said it yourself.
Yeah.
And, I don't know.
Possibly.
There's a lot of things about Rivi. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Next thing.
The thing to me is when people have details about something, I feel like it's less likely to be a lie. And he had the name of his friend. He had a bunch of details about that night. I don't know. To me, it seemed like this was one of the stories that may have been truthful.
This was maybe the one or the two.
But the thing that we do know
is
these are one of these things that we can take one thing out of a whole story of information.
Absolutely.
We do know that he somehow ruined the hit on this target at the club. He was the one that, he opened his mouth. He's got a big mouth. He can't keep it shut.
Now that's the common denominator.
Right. Yes. So, of course, once he blew the spot, he burned everything, everyone started running out of the club. And the hitmen were called off because it was complete chaos. It turns out the person who ordered the hit was Griselda Blanco. So if you're not familiar with Griselda Blanco, she was known as La Madrina, or the Godmother, and she was a very prominent figure in the Medellin cartel.
She is the female that is featured heavily in Cocaine Cowboys, but then also Cocaine Cowboys 2, formerly called Hustlin' with the Godmother.
Right.
They have since changed the name just to Cocaine Cowboys 2, which is kind of funny. But that's also Rivi's starring role is in that film. But yeah, she's a wild one.
Yes. And then even most recently on MTV, there's a reality show starring her son.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's already been canceled, by the way.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
that's good because it was terrible. I watched it, to be honest.
It was also Karen from Mob Wives' daughter. And it was weird.
Oh, no, that's different. That's a different show.
Okay, sorry, edit this out. Never mind. But that was weird too because she grew up in Arizona. Why is she in Long Island? But okay, yeah, you're right.
There's something called Cartel Crew, I think.
Yes.
And then the other one that you're talking about that is Karen Gravano's daughter.
Yes, Sammy the Bull's granddaughter.
Is, I can't remember Long Island something.
I don't know, something like that. Yeah.
The kids of assholes
but
of
that
Long
kid
Island.
grew up in Arizona with Karen because they were all in witness protection. So why does she have a Staten Island Long Island accent talking about her friends? I know, but I want it to be real. So anyway,
but Michael, her son, Griselda Blanco's son, looks exactly like her. That super round face with the little dent in the chin, the whole thing.
Cartel. Is that VH1?
I think it's MTV.
So should have looked that up. Anyway, next.
But she definitely has been a prominent figure. When you think of cartel, when you think of, Colombian drug running, Griselda Blanco is one of the main featured names.
Every time you see a picture of her, she's in that 90s floral print, usually a top, and white grandma sweatpants. I'm not even kidding. She reminds me of the lady growing up next door.
Right.
Right? And that haircut, the coif. It's funny to me. I don't know. She just looks very La Madrina. She's just like the grandmother, the godmother.
But she was named the Godmother after the Godfather movies because she was obsessed with the Godfather movies. That was her shit.
She just seems so cute.
Yeah, she really does. She seems harmless when you just look at her in a picture. But the reality was that because she was, a woman, first of all, and had this kind of harmless look about her, she was very obsessed with the fact that people did not take her seriously. And so she used this tactic of being extremely ruthless and killing as many people as possible in order to earn respect. So she knew that if she wasn't going to just get it naturally by being a man or having a sort of physical intimidation, she was going to work her way up by killing people. So she kept a list of names with prices written next to them, and she ordered her men to take these people out and then come collect the rewards when they were done. Griselda earned a reputation for being extreme and having no boundaries when it came to murder. So when you think of a lot of these mobsters and cartel and whatnot, the kingpins really had this sort of respect or boundaries when they would kill people. So even though they're still committing the murders, they would have this block where they wouldn't do it in front of their kids, for example. They wouldn't do it in certain places. Their family members wouldn't be present, and there wouldn't be innocent bystanders that were hit, right? For a lot of them. They just had that sort of boundary.
Isn't it the movie with Billy Crystal and Robert De Niro where he's the psychiatrist or whatever, and there's like going to be a hit at a funeral and they're all tripping about it? They have rules, Brianna.
Right. There is this sort of like
there's a code,
this unspoken, well, this is a thing that we don't do, right? Griselda was one of the first people that was like, fuck that. I'm doing whatever I want. If someone's getting murdered, they're getting murdered. It doesn't matter.
I believe, and I've heard this before, that Griselda Blanco was the one, quote unquote, invented the motorcycle drive-by hit.
Yes.
That she was the one that invented that.
Yes, she is credited with that. And whether that's true or maybe someone else did it before her, she is very much credited with the motorcycle hit. So it was pretty common for motorcycles to just run up on people in public places.
Machine gun your ass down.
Yep.
It's crazy.
She also became known for going way further than her peers by doing things like hitting a target at church, for example. There was someone she killed at their mom's funeral. There was people that were killed in front of their kids. And also, she didn't care about taking out multiple witnesses or bystanders along with the targeted hit.
Like patio cafes, just clear them.
Yeah.
Just who cares? Kids, collateral damage. Doesn't matter. Just kill like the one person we need dead in the sea of 15.
Exactly. It changed the game, you know? Griselda was a huge reason why there was this big influx of cocaine in the 80s and this astronomical rise in the murder rates in Miami. Of course, if you're taking out 15 people, the murder rates are going up a lot. In the 80s, Miami was known as the murder capital of the U.S., and it averaged about 600 homicides per year.
That's a lot for one city.
Crazy.
And it's not that big.
Crazy. So most of the murders were, of course, cocaine related. 25% of the murders involved automatic weapons, and 15% of the murders were in public. The Miami Medical Examiner's Office actually had to rent a refrigerated van from the nearby Burger King headquarters to help with the overflow of bodies. And they just parked this van in front and kept additional bodies from the morgue there.
Nothing you can say to me that is going to make me want to eat Burger King meat that I know it's being trucked around. Chances are that truck's been to my town.
Right?
For real. Ugh.
So that's a little bit of backstory about Griselda, right? So Rivi had never really directly dealt with Griselda until he fucked up this hit on the brothers at the club that night by having a big mouth. So after Griselda found out that he was the one that tipped them off, she summoned him to a meeting with her and her husband. And she just straight up asked him, "Are you the one that ruined the hit?" And he said yes. So she told him that they were trying to find these guys for a long time and he ruined it, and she was pissed. So she said the deal was he had to find the two brothers that she was trying to kill and do the hit himself.
This seems like Griselda wins. And then, I mean, Rivi wins. He's not dead. And there's nobody higher right now than Griselda. She's my wing in a storm. I'll sit here. I'll work for you. Sure.
Yeah, he probably saw it as a career move.
Yes, this is something to put on a resume.
Like not only being something to save his life, but something that's like, oh, this is street cred. This is something to get me further gigs. This is all of that stuff that he's been longing for.
If only his Chicago neighborhood could see him now.
Right. I mean, this legitimizes him.
Yeah.
You know, he could go back to Chicago and be like, oh, yeah, I worked for Griselda.
Hey, I kill people in Miami. What do you do?
Right.
I work at the bank with Kevin McAllister's dad. Like, shit. He had it. He was set.
Yep.
His poor family.
And again, it just is a complete accident. but it's a career move, and he like accidentally fails upwards every time.
He's good at manipulating his downfalls or his failures into come-ups.
Yes. Yeah, he's positive spin master.
And he's very good looking at this point too. Let's point that out.
I don't remember seeing young pictures of him, really.
He has like, at one point he has like the long like moldy rat tail thing.
Oh,
Not
no.
so good. But when he looks straight on, you can't tell. So he looks like he just has a nice clean haircut. He's very attractive.
So he, of course, took the deal to save his life, if anything, to buy him time. You know what I mean? If I have a couple weeks to find them, I'm going to take it. So he said, give me a week, I'll find them. So she agreed to pay him $50,000 for each brother. Of course, it went unspoken that if he didn't complete the hit, she would have killed him. So he found one of the brothers and delivered him to Griselda. And Griselda had him killed, and she actually chopped him up and put him in a cardboard box and left him by the side of the road.
Not good. She's rough.
Yes.
She has her way.
And again, she still has another hitman working for her. So
Yeah.
Rivi's not the one that completed this one, but this was his foot in the door just by bringing the brother in. And I don't know what happened to the second brother. She may have just found him on her own or whatnot, but at least because he found the one brother, his life was spared. So although he helped her out by fixing his mistake from the club, Rivi actually didn't get his start as a hitman for Griselda.
Good call on McDonald's for lunch.
Yeah, let's eat.
Okay, we have the oh yeah for me.
Can you hand me my
Yep, and here are a couple of woot woots to share.
I love my woohoo!
Oh, sounds like Stacy went to McDonald's too.
For a limited time, grab a hot and spicy McChicken and small fries for just $3 at McDonald's. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive #1, #2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. This is your daily pep talk. I know it's been rough going ever since people found out about your a cappella group, Mad Harmony, but you will bounce back. I mean, you're the guy always helping people find coverage options with the Name Your Price tool. It should be you giving me the pep talk. Now get out there, hit that high note, and take Mad Harmony all the way to nationals this year! Sorry, it's pitchy.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Until her previous hitman had a falling out with her. So previously, her main contract killer was a guy named Jesus Chucho Castro. And he was the main enforcer for her until he had a dispute with her son, Osvaldo. At the time, Osvaldo was only 15, and what happened was he was at a club with some of his friends, and when he left the club, he was in no shape to drive. He was just super drunk, so he decided that he would go to Chucho's house that was right around the corner just to try and sleep it off. When he showed up, of course, his car's swerving everywhere. He pulled the car up onto Chucho's front lawn, and Chucho came running out of the house, screaming at him. Osvaldo pleaded to stay the night. He said, he just needed to sleep it off, and Chucho said no. So Osvaldo pulled the mom card. And Chucho told him that he did not care if he told his mother, and he could specifically go fuck himself.
This is the Instagram kid, by the way. Osvaldo.
Exactly. Yeah, this is the kid that would have been playing with tigers on Instagram.
This is that kid, for
would have
sure.
had like a gold throne built around his toilet or something.
All of his rape cases have just been buried
somewhere, like
all of
unfound.
it.
Yeah.
Yes. He's in USC. He's going to be getting in this year. No problem.
Yeah.
Taken care of.
Yeah. She, by all accounts, looked after her boys. She had sons.
Scary.
Just like no other. Nobody could touch them.
Not the mother-in-law you want.
No.
Not the one you need to get. Don't want that.
So sure enough, after this argument with Chucho, Osvaldo told Griselda, and she lost it. And she went to Rivi and told him he had to kill Chucho. A short while later, Rivi and an accomplice got into a nondescript white van, loaded in a machine gun in the back, and they set out to find Chucho. They caught up with him near his house, and they decided that Rivi's accomplice would just drive the van, while Rivi sprayed Chucho's car with bullets with the machine gun.
I mean, definitely like maximum effect, sure. Little ridiculous.
But that's exactly Griselda's style. Every one of her crew was like that. Just automatic weapons, just machine gun spray, everything.
Yeah.
So they got into a high-speed chase, but Rivi was actually unable to kill Chucho. And as I understand it, they were going down kind of a industrial area. There wasn't many people, but then they like pulled into a main drag with a gas station, full on like public, a bunch of people there. Bullets were flying. Both cars were going on and off the sidewalk and stuff like that. But still, Chucho survived. He eventually got away. Rivi later found out that even though he didn't kill Chucho, Chucho's 2-year-old son, Johnny, was actually in the back seat and he had been killed by the gunfire. Chucho was actually a fugitive at the time. Even though his son had died, he felt like he couldn't report what happened. So what he did was he decided to leave Johnny's body outside the church where Johnny had his confirmation a few months earlier. So Chucho starts driving around and he's looking for this church, but he couldn't find the exact church that he had his confirmation at. So he left the body in front of this mosque. And later on, he called in an anonymous tip about what happened to the boy.
I bet that is something that a lot of people who like think about having this criminal lifestyle don't think about. The angle of, well, what if my kid gets killed in something I'm doing and I'm on the run and can't turn. I mean, when you read about this or you watch it, whatever, you know, you're just thinking the whole time, my God, never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not something I think about when I'm trying to have a career in criminal.
And especially, like we said before, because Griselda was one of the first that really didn't care about killing kids or witnesses or bystanders. So it hadn't been much of an issue before this, but now all of a sudden there's these things that you never really have to think of coming up where it's like, what do I do if I can't go to the police about things and my son is gone? It's just so sad. They couldn't have a service for him.
Nothing.
From what I understand, they actually put him in, like they put him on ice for a little while so that people could visit and come see the boy. And then he went and took him to the church. But that was the only thing that they could do to mourn the loss of their son because they couldn't go to a normal avenue of having a service or anything like that. It's crazy.
It's so wild because then there's part of me that's like, yes, you can. You just go, hi, I give up. Like, listen, somebody just shot my 2-year-old and we can't have a service. Like, I give up. I'm a fugitive. Take me in.
Yeah.
Anything.
That's a point where you're just like, yeah, I got to turn my life around. Right?
Yeah. Maybe that's like, maybe a bottom, maybe a half bottom.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, for me, my bottom would come way before that.
Maybe would have come sooner, but you know.
But then you think about, you know, how many other kids does he have? If he does go to the cops, will she come after the family? You know what I mean? You don't know what you're dealing with. If you're putting yourself in his shoes.
Oh, of course.
I mean, he could be putting everybody in jeopardy if he goes to the authorities.
It's just the cost of doing business with Griselda.
Right. I would flee the country, but that's just me.
Terrible HR department.
So later on, the police found Johnny wrapped up in a sheet with his passport to identify him and 3 roses.
And if you're trying to make it look like something, you know, don't leave roses with the damn kid. But you can tell, like, it's, you know, oh, he was cared for and he was loved. And then it's like even more questions. I don't know. I would be the worst detective to find that.
Yeah.
I'd immediately go to the family. Something's up here. Yeah, instantly.
I would just spend all my time crying.
Well, sure.
I could not.
You're not made for that job.
No,
not at all.
But he was just such a little kid, and he was about to turn 3. And from what I understand, that's why they left the 3 roses, because he was almost 3 years old.
But who knows that? The family. Sorry, continue.
Rivi, of course, insists that if he had actually saw Johnny in the back seat, he would have called the entire hit off. To him, killing kids was not something he was okay with. But Griselda did not feel the same way. She was actually happy that the boy died. To her, she felt like it was justice because Chucho's son was ultimately the victim when he had attacked, in her mind, her son first.
Nobody attacked your son.
Right.
He brought his drunken party to Chucho's place in the middle of the night and acted foolish.
And he just set a boundary and was like, yeah, go fuck yourself.
And Chucho was just being like a normal person.
Right. He was just like, sleep it off in your car. Like, the kid was 15.
And even if he's supposed to be like a mentor to him and always take him in and take care of him, no, you're doing that. This is me giving you tough love.
It is.
Yeah. Sleep in my driveway. You're safe there.
Right.
It's just insanity, but she's not on the level with us. Like,
no,
we couldn't have this combo with her.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, she's too far gone. It's just her reality is completely warped at this point. All she knows is just retaliation, murder. That's it.
I slightly believe Rivi a little bit about this, that if he had seen the kid, I don't think he would have necessarily, because he would have found him again.
Yeah, that is one of the
that.
things that I do believe he was truthful about.
Yeah.
He did have this boundary about kids. And we do know that he had kids. He had a wife. And he really felt like, I think, that if you could come after someone else's kid, what's stopping you from coming after my kid? I think that's why he just had this wall up. He was like, yeah, if it involves a kid, it's not happening.
Yeah.
So many cartel members were really upset at this time that such a young child had been killed. And there was even grumblings about a retaliation on Griselda, possibly taking her out or coming after someone in her crew or whatnot. However, by this point, Griselda was pretty independent, and so she avoided discipline from the higher-ups. After this, Rivi moved up to being the head of Griselda Blanco's security and, of course, her main hitman and contract killer that she used. There's actually, in my opinion, there's probably a ton more of murders that we really don't know about since, of course, her previous hitman was out of the picture, and by this point, we know that Rivi's salary increased dramatically. So I'm assuming that's due to a blank spot in the murders that we know about, right?
Yes, because especially when he's getting 50 and 100K at a time, probably the perfect thing to put down on houses.
Exactly.
And you just need like 3 or 4 to get a house here or there, everywhere.
We know that he started making a ton of money right around this period of time. Even if he doesn't talk about specific murders that he did because he only talks about the ones he was convicted of, we know that the salary increase definitely means that people died. So he started making a ton of money, and he spent it just as quickly. He bought houses around Miami, Palm Beach, St. Augustine, and then he had 2 houses in Chicago. He also bought multiple cars for himself, a few cars for his wife, and then he says that he bought several cars for each of his girlfriends.
Why do you need all these cars?
What else are you going to spend money on?
I don't know.
You can't really, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't just put the money in the bank.
That's true. You know what? I keep forgetting what kind of money this is.
Because you and I would reinvest this or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? I can think of 20 businesses I could start if I had this money, But he's just I got to get rid of it somehow. I'll just put cash down on this car.
I forgot that they do mention too in Cocaine Cowboys and stuff, how they were making deals with Noriega to hide the money in Panama that they were moving and stuff like that. So yeah, this is a different kind of money. This isn't my app from B of A money. Right?
This was it's like Murder Mountain burial money,
yes, it stays
you'll
hidden.
Find it in the hills somewhere someday.
It'll wash up.
Yeah.
Yep. It's on a submarine somewhere.
Right. So in June 1982, Griselda had given Alfredo Lorenzo about 5 kilos of cocaine to sell. And she told him that he had to pay her back that whole $250K in 2 weeks. When the 2 weeks were up and Alfredo didn't have the money, Rivi went after him. Rivi and 2 accomplices killed Alfredo and his wife, Griselda Lorenzo, while their 3 children under the age of 5 were still in the house. They fled the scene, leaving the 3 kids to discover what happened to their parents.
This is where this is like the breakdown on Rivi's stories sometimes. A little bit.
How so?
Because, well, he wouldn't have even done it if he knew the kids were there. Instead of, I just didn't kill the kids.
Yes. Here's the thing about...
Either way, he didn't kill them.
Yes. Either way, he still, we know, wouldn't kill the kids. However, his 2 accomplices were there with him. One of them went into the other room with the kids. And from Rivi's story, he stopped him from killing the kids because they were supposed to kill everyone in the house that night. And in fact, when Rivi told Griselda that they hadn't killed everyone, they just killed the 2 parents, she was pissed that they left the kids alive. And she reminded him that the order was to kill everyone, including the kids.
She wanted headlines so bad.
Yeah.
And she just wanted the notoriety and the shock. Just, I'll kill your children too. Like,
and again,
damn.
To me, it's like, it's respect.
Yeah.
She's afraid that as a woman, she's not being taken seriously. If she shows that she's more ruthless and she doesn't care about killing the kids or whoever, then people will respect her. They'll take her more seriously. They'll be afraid of her.
She can't be soft. She's got to be hard.
Right. But from Rivi's story, I mean, he almost physically stopped the whole thing. Like he, I think, either pushed the person out of the way or punched them while they were about to shoot the kids, something to that effect. So to Rivi, he says that he's like saved the kids' lives, basically. But they were still left there to walk into the other room and discover the parents. So if you really were looking out for the kids, he was the main hitman at that point. He could have like done a stakeout, waited for the kids to be on a play date or something, go to grandma's house, and then go get the parents.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I understand that he wouldn't kill them, but at the same time, he could have done better, right?
As a hitman, he could have done better. Yes, you're right. Definitely. I know, right? You put your hand to your head and you're like, what am I saying?
Like,
right
I'm
now?
covering my entire face because I can't believe that's coming out of my mouth right now. But it does feel like if he's going to insist that he felt a certain way about kids, then he would have actually done better, you know? But whatever. So he didn't kill the kids. He didn't let the accomplices kill the kids.
No.
That's the point of what happened. But Griselda was pretty mad about that. A short while later, a former associate named Paco Mejia ripped off Griselda by stealing an entire shipment of cocaine and rerouting it to his own stash houses.
What a dumbass. I mean,
that's crazy. I mean, I know that's just kind of the stuff that happens in the cocaine trade.
Yes, it does. But
you know?
I mean, this is Griselda's shit. What are you thinking?
Yeah. Like, this is the type of shit you do when you're like mid-level, low-level. You know what I mean? Like, stealing from a real small-time dealer is way different than stealing from Griselda fucking Blanco.
La Madrina.
You know?
No sé.
Gotta have some fucking sense about you. So, of course, according to Griselda, this meant war. And she asked Rivi to get revenge on the person that had stolen from her. So Rivi tracked down Paco to New York, and within a few days, he'd killed 11 men on Paco's crew. There was only one of Paco's men that Rivi decided not to kill, and he specifically left one person alive so that that person could spread the word about what happened and warn others never to fuck with Griselda Blanco. A few days later, Rivi killed Paco's father, Octavio Mejia, outside of a mall.
This is Rivi just on some, like, was it Charles Bronson shit? Just, I'm killing everyone. And this is why, again, it's like, Rivi, you're never going to tell us the truth.
No.
Because you murdered 12 people in like 3 days or something insane. And then you're going to tell us you didn't kill anyone for like 12-year spans.
Right.
Okay, sure, whatever. You just bought all these houses. All right,
and
whatever.
That's the thing. That's how we know for sure that there were so many other murders that happened, because he's still collecting this money and spending it. But he really only talks about, and the detectives can only give us information about, the murders that he was convicted of. That's it.
Yeah, and poor Paco, man, like just obliterated everything he knew. Killed his dad outside the mall, 11 guys on his crew. It's just you can't steal from Griselda. That's the moral of the story there.
Yeah, Rivi was just burning it all to the ground. Destroy everything. So Rivi learned that Paco had a new house. So he went to his neighborhood, he put sticks of dynamite inside the house, and he blew it up. But the house was empty and there was no sign of Paco. By all accounts, Paco must have skipped town by this point, especially when he found his father. So this wave of killings and the explosion, of course, brought a ton of police attention to Rivi and Griselda.
You can have 600 killings in Miami, okay? But if you blow something up, they're paying attention. I mean,
I think that even though they didn't have enough forensics and whatnot, and they just couldn't track it down, they knew who the major players were. And by that point, of course, there's a bunch of task forces. There's a bunch of detectives looking into all the cartel activity. They know that Rivi is a big player. They know that he's working right under Griselda. So he's just kind of on borrowed time at this point, because they're going to catch up with him, you know?
It's coming. Crockett and Tubbs, Miami Vice is coming for you.
So
Introducing the Capital One Walmart Rewards Card. Earn unlimited 5% back on everything you buy at Walmart online. It's the perfect card for all your family's hints this holiday season. Like 5% back on the air fryer Grandpa told you about when he fell asleep in his chair.
They don't fry anything.
Or 5% back on the laptop your sister had carolers sing to you.
2 turtle doves and a laptop for Carrie.
The Capital One Walmart Rewards Card. Earn unlimited rewards, including 5% back at Walmart online. What's in your wallet?
Terms and exclusions apply. Capital One N.A.
And now, a thought from Geico Motorcycle.
It took 15 minutes to take a spirit animal quiz online.
Please be the cheetah. Please be the cheetah.
And learn your animal isn't the cheetah, but the far less appealing blobfish.
Oh, come on.
To add insult to injury, you could have used those 15 blobfish minutes to switch your motorcycle insurance to Geico.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance.
In 1984, I think that the heat just got way too much, and Griselda Blanco's husband, Dario Sepulveda, decided that he was going to leave. He also had an American girlfriend named Cindy. So he was like, the heat's too much. I'm not in love with you anymore. I'm taking off with my girlfriend.
I got this blonde named Cindy, all right? She drives this red Ferrari in Miami. She's dope. See ya.
And she won't murder me.
She's probably not gonna kill me.
Because the thing is, this isn't a show about Griselda. This is about Rivi. We're doing an entire episode on Rivi. What we're not saying about Griselda is that she had 3 husbands that she murdered.
Oh, that's right. She also fucked the shit out of Rivi, too. They like everyone does. No, I didn't see this anywhere when I'm reading about this shit. No, she was cheating on everyone with Rivi. Rivi's cheating on everyone with Griselda. They had a working sexual relationship.
She was, even though, like you said, she was kind of like this, not grandmother, but this like homely looking woman.
Yeah, she lived next door to your mom, you know?
Crazy orgies.
Crazy.
She did a shit ton of crack and cocaine.
I love that part too. When they talk about her drug use, it's insane.
All of her like sexual exploits and orgies and whatnot and house parties that were crazy
and she
were
held
fueled by
together.
drugs. But She was also known for killing people that she slept with. So the fact that Rivi survived is kind of crazy because she would sleep with people and then something would happen. You know, that thing of just like, okay, that person didn't call you back because they're afraid you're going to murder them, whatever it is.
You know that old adage.
And she would kill him. That was her thing. So not only was it her husband's, but she was also very famously bisexual. So she killed men and women that she would sleep with.
I forgot about that part. You're right.
Yeah.
About that.
Even though I don't want to make the whole thing about Griselda, because we're definitely more focused on Hitmen and Rivi at this point, there's a reason why this guy ran off with his girlfriend. In most cases, I would be like, oh, fuck you. You've got a girlfriend.
Start the car. Start the car now.
But really for him, it was like, this is his way out. There was police on their back. They were getting more and more attention. All these task forces are just honing in on the cartel. So this was his opportunity to escape, you know?
Yeah.
He was like, this is the time where I have to get out.
I think it's in part 2. Rivi does mention something about like, oh, she's going to kill me. Like one of these days, like she's going to get me. Like you see it in his eyes. He flashes back and he's like, oh, she was trying to kill me the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot all about that. You're right.
Yeah, that was like, it's a huge risk to work for her because there's so many people that she felt like she had no more use for, or for some reason they crossed her for minimal transgressions and she would take them out. Yeah. So at some point, Dario was on that list where he was like, I have to get out. My wife is going to kill me. So he ran off. And at this point where he split up with Griselda, both Griselda and Dario asked Rivi to come work for them. So he was caught in the middle like a kid in a divorce where he was like, okay, have the opportunity to be a hitman for either one of these people. And although Griselda was very famous and very powerful, Dario Sepulveda was a higher up in the cartel as well. So Rivi had an opportunity to make a choice of who he wanted to work for. He would have been safer with Dario, right?
He had a great resume up to this point, too, you know?
He had so many opportunities.
So many opportunities.
But what he did was he took this as an opportunity to get completely out of the hitman game and stop all of his contract killing. So even though both of them asked him to come work for them, he said he was just going to go sell coke and that's all he would do going forward. And he wanted to just start a new life for himself. So he did. And by June 1984, he had completely left Miami and moved to Chicago. And by this point, he stopped hearing from Griselda, and it had been months since they had spoken. One day, Griselda called him out of the blue and said that she needed him to come work for her again. And he told her that he was completely out of the trade and he was just making money selling drugs. He was done killing people. But she said that she was now at war with a guy named Rafiko and Jaime Bravo, and that they were going to kill her and her sons, so she needed his help. She offered him $50K for each of the men in his crew and $100K for Jaime Bravo himself. Within a week, Rivi had killed 3 crew members, but he hadn't found Jaime.
Oh, so he took the job?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I love how he paints himself as so reluctant.
Oh, my
God. But I
God.
really didn't want to do it. And,
I mean, he's living in Chicago selling coke, doing just fine. 80s Chicago cocaine. He's probably going to New York sometimes here and there. Like, he's got houses all over the place.
Right.
If he hasn't sold them yet, you know? I mean, okay. Oh, I just have to go help Griselda.
But he's making a solid living for himself. He has all the connections in Miami. 70% of the cocaine in the U.S. is coming through all the people that are his friends, right? So he's the main contact in Chicago for coke at this point, I'm assuming.
What did she have on him there? Or did he, maybe she says, I can see you right now. I'm going to kill you if you don't come kill these people for me.
Right.
Because he didn't have to do it. Bored. I don't know. Maybe he's all coked out one night and he's like, I got to go help Griselda.
And that's the thing is like, we really don't know because we only have his account of it. Was there a threat on his life? That's kind of option A. Or was it just that from the beginning, he was always that person that wanted to be in the underbelly of the underworld? Like he wanted to be in the cartel. So maybe just selling coke wasn't enough for him, you know?
I imagine you killed 12 people in the span of a couple days. It's like, okay, that was a lot for me. I'm very, very amped up. I need to come down a little bit. So you just live in Chicago and you just are coked out, selling coke. Your life is cocaine, right? And eventually, I can't imagine, but that becomes boring and very calm. And you're like, I got to kill 12 people again to get back to that, adrenaline rush. He's like a base jumper.
It may have been a sort of a junkie sort of thing for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could be true.
Eek.
But I don't know. There's got to be some sort of element of if he didn't do what she wanted, she would come after him.
Is this as simple as good pussy?
It could be.
Is it that simple?
But I also think that if he was afraid of her,
scared pussy,
he never would have admitted it. You know?
Yeah.
I think that he's got to have that sort of ego and bravado that like no woman would ever scare me, not even Griselda, you know? I think that if he felt like his life was in jeopardy, he wouldn't really admit to it, you know?
Yeah.
So it could have been, or it probably was a combination of all of the above, you know? So at this point, he's on the mission to find Jaime Bravo. And what happened was he accidentally...
There's that word again. Accidentally. Sorry. I put my hands in the air. Oh, he
You're like waving your hands like we're in class.
Like allegedly.
But
sure.
That's the thing is like,
Every
is
time.
that absolutely the truth? Or is he really just that shitty at everything that everything good that happens to him happens by accident? That just doesn't make any sense. But he says that he accidentally ran into Jaime on a trip to the mall with his wife. Seems rather convenient.
Very.
The problem was that when he saw Jaime had like 6 armed guys with him, and Rivi didn't have a gun. He was just on a trip to the mall. So they kind of had this confrontation. Very calm, angry words, right? They're like walking up to each other. Jaime warns him that Rivi's just working for the wrong person. And he tells him, Griselda's going to get you killed one of these days. The thing was that they were really just looking for Griselda. They didn't care about Rivi. They needed him alive so that they could torture him for information. So suddenly, 2 cops appeared, and Rivi immediately came up with a plan to ask them for directions. So he goes up to these cops and he starts pointing in Jaime's direction, and he makes it seem like he's telling them that these guys are after him, when in reality, he was just saying, oh, is such and such this way? Is it that way? I'm lost.
It's pretty smart.
It's really clever for him to just think on his feet and be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to use these cops to kind of shield myself.
And he obviously isn't most wanted in that area because a lot of these cops know the usual suspects.
Right.
And
even the beat cops are like,
yes.
Oh, they've got this list of cartel members.
And I don't see Rivi walking up to like a Miami-Dade beach cop. Like,
No.
I have a feeling he's known for slanging coke on the beach. I mean,
right.
Come on. So...
And he'd been gone in Chicago for a little bit, but not long enough to where they would forget him. It sounds like it was a matter of months, not years.
No, it's not years.
Yeah. So the thing was about this plan, the only thing that could go wrong is that the truth was cartel members really didn't care about opening fire on people. Even the people that weren't in Griselda's crew, by this point, were used to opening fire on cops in public places. It really just didn't matter. But Rivi was more useful to them alive. So they let him just walk away, and he was just chatting with the cops. And as he tells it, He got into their car. They offered to give him a ride to where he said he needed to go. He was a talker.
Fucking Rivi, man.
Right?
Like, and I can see this story. He is very good at storytelling, and you can see it happening. He doesn't even he gives details, but it's very visual.
Yes.
The way he talks, and his charisma just oozes.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, he's a likable guy. At coffee, at Starbucks, you'd see this guy and he'd hold the door and you'd be like, oh, thanks. What are you doing today, ma'am? Oh, well, I'm just going to work. Me too. I might take my dog to the dog park. Like, he's this guy. He's just like a nice guy.
Yes.
And then he's a straight killer.
It is really, really a huge difference between how he presents himself and the things that he does. And the way he could just talk himself out of things.
He can walk up to Jaime Bravo behind him and just be like, hey, motherfucker, I've been looking for you. And then just be like, hey, officer, so which way is northwest?
Right.
Right? Like in the same breath. It's pretty good.
My Google map says to go to northwest, and I just don't know if that's or left or right.
I just don't trust it, officer. Torres, is that your name, Officer Torres? Let's have a chat.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing the things that he can get away with just by talking. So things kind of died down after this. Of course, Jaime went one way and Rivi went another. But things were really heating up on both sides of law. So Griselda had made a ton of enemies, right? Law enforcement was closing in on her. Now we've got Jaime Bravo and a bunch of his crew that are looking for her. So it's not really safe for any of Griselda's crew. And at this point, Griselda was actually almost caught because an informant had worn a wire to a meeting with her. The informant told her that he was throwing a party and he needed a couple people taken care of. The thing was, she thought that the informant meant that he needed them killed. That's what she heard with taken care of, right? But he meant that he needed some drugs. He needed party favors.
She's slipping. Because if you were to call, and Grandma, we're having a barbecue on Sunday. Okay, Saturday, sure. You know what I mean? And then she hears it one way. And so she's going to go to bat. I heard Saturday, right? And she just hears, oh, you need someone murdered? You need someone killed. That's all she hears. It's just, oh, you need someone taken. Okay, sure. Yeah, whatever. I got a great guy for that.
Yep.
I'll go to Food for Less. Sure. It's the same thing. It's what she hears. It's what she wants to hear.
Yeah, I think because she was known so much for murder by this point, it does make sense that she would automatically go to that, even though she's like the cocaine godmother.
She forgot all about that part.
Her main focus is murder at this point. Yeah. So that's what she thinks is going on.
I think murder becomes more exciting for them than cocaine because coke is going to be exciting enough for most people, right? But then murder is like a whole nother level, and they're already just not with us people. They don't give a shit. They're killing regular. I think that's the excitement.
Yeah.
That's all I can think. That and the money.
Well, yeah. So, of course, when she's at this meeting and someone needs to be taken care of, she gives the informant Rivi's phone number. So the informant meets up with Rivi, and both of them were extremely confused because Rivi didn't know what the guy was talking about. The guy wants cocaine. He's trying to set up a deal. Rivi knows that he's not the coke guy. He's the death guy, right? So this guy was clearly trying to get coke. And Rivi was there because Griselda said, this guy needs a hitman. You're my guy. Take care of this hit. The miscommunication actually meant that they both narrowly avoided getting arrested.
Yeah, and he's like, guy at Starbucks, just like propositioning. Just like, hey, what you doing? How you doing? Hi, I heard I had to talk to you with Griselda. Griselda said, right? And he's just like, hey, I got some people coming into town. Yeah, I'll take care of them. Okay, sounds great. What are you talking about? I don't know. Bye. Like, God damn.
In November of 1993, the police tried to flip Rivi. And when they brought him in for questioning, he said that he knew Griselda, but he didn't know about any of the murders that they were talking about. So shortly after they brought him in, Rivi got indicted for 3 murders. The 2-year-old Johnny Castro that we talked about, and Alfredo and Grisel Lorenzo, the double homicide where the kids found their parents. When he saw the amount of evidence that they had, Rivi decided to cooperate because he wanted to avoid the death penalty.
I bet those kids picked him out of a lineup and that he probably did come in that room to kill those fucking kids, right? And just everyone has to go. And then maybe he felt guilty, whatever it may be. But at some point, they probably saw him and they picked him out of a lineup. And he might be the only one alive still.
Yeah, we don't know.
Just found. And he just was like, shit, now I see all the evidence they have against me. How do I get out of this? I don't want to die.
Yes, absolutely. At first, he was just like, well, I could just deny my way out of it. But once you see what they have, I mean, there was nothing he could do. So he got a plea deal where, of course, he pleaded guilty to 3 murders and he got sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. From what we understand, Griselda was shocked that he went against her because she would say that she loved him like a son. He was like family to her. The problem was they were trying to build a case against Griselda using cooperation from Rivi, but it completely fell apart when the investigators discovered that Rivi had engaged in phone sex with secretaries from the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office.
So funny to me.
There was a huge scandal. It got a ton of media coverage. There was just an investigation launched into this phone sex issue that revealed that the secretaries had exchanged photographs with Rivi. They'd accepted money and gifts from him. There was legit long-distance relationship kind of things going on. One secretary claimed that she was under orders from Miami prosecutor Vogel to flirt with Jorge to keep him happy, quotes. So after the investigation, 3 secretaries were fired and Michael Band, a veteran prosecutor, resigned. One of the secretaries later sued the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office for wrongful termination and was awarded $155,000. So now that the case against Griselda was weakened, special prosecutors from Orlando took over. Griselda was able to negotiate her own plea deal and agreed to a 20-year sentence, of which she only served 7 years.
Crazy.
It's unbelievable. The amount of people that died, the amount of cocaine that came into the U.S., and she served 7 years.
And she got out and you see, there's footage of her. There's footage of her wandering around. She got out and she was just living.
She was released on June 6, 2004, and she was deported to Colombia. She tried to maintain the low profile. She claimed that she became a born-again Christian, but eventually her past caught up with her, and she was gunned down inside a butcher shop in 2012.
I mean, even maintaining a low profile to where you're being murdered in a butcher shop, it doesn't matter where you go. The things you've done are the things people travel to find you, to kill you for.
Right. It still took 8 years, which to me feels like a long time. I would have thought it would have happened sooner.
I do too.
For the amount of people she killed, the amount of children of parents out there that are just coming after her.
Maybe we had to wait for one of those kids to grow up though.
Maybe. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, it just seems like they could have gotten her so much sooner. Not that I'm pro anyone finding her and murdering her, but it's very surprising to me that she lasted for 8 years, where everybody knew that she was the woman that caused hundreds of murders. It's crazy. On the same day that she was actually released from jail, Rivi was stabbed in a Miami prison. And he narrowly survived the gruesome attack, but he refused to point out who his attacker was. And since then, even though he had been super talkative before and really giving a lot of information to the police and the press, he kept his mouth shut after that. It seemed to teach him a lesson.
She was going to kill him.
Yeah.
No matter what.
And he knew he just had to keep quiet to save his own life. Although Rivi was only convicted of 3 murders, he has confessed to killing 29 people. But he is also suspected in 12 additional murders.
I think it's
so. The
more
ones
than
that we really talked about were the ones that he was definitely convicted of. The others, there's not a lot of information on, and it's kind of speculation because there's not much information out there.
Yeah, he did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jorge Rivi Ayala's next hearing before a Florida parole board is this year, 2019.
I don't think he's going to be approved.
No.
Okay.
There's no way.
Yeah, I don't see how he would ever. I mean, he's got 3 consecutive life sentences.
And even though he's serving time for the 3 victims, now the police have additional information of these other murders that he's admitted to. Even if he's not charged with them, that's not going to go over well with the parole board.
That's so true.
You know? So just that information alone, I think he's never going to get out. That's
Even
my
just
opinion.
his interviews for documentary films that he's done are probably enough to make them like, yeah, we're not letting you out.
The way that he talks about things, the way that he's so nonchalant, the way that it's not necessarily, it's bragging, but even he tries to, I think he has some awareness about the fact that he sounds like he's bragging. So he tries to rein it in. But he is still very casual, very nonchalant when he talks about it. That alone, I think, is reason enough for them to keep him.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah. So that's our very first letter H hitman, Jorge Rivi Ayala.
Yeah, he is definitely, when I think of hitman, there's the usual suspects, but he's one of mine. Like when I think of a hitman, I think of Rivi.
Yes.
Big time. I think part of it too is like when you see him and when you see the charisma coming off of him, it's not that like you like the guy, but you see how other people did and how he, finagled his way into things and, you can see like the criminal element, like he's using it. Who is it Henry Hill in Goodfellas or one of those that it's like his charisma, like, and he's got a good smile. And so he gets moved along for things too,
Yeah, I mean, he really is just the ultimate car salesman of death.
Yes.
He's the guy that can talk you into buying this complete lemon because he says X, Y, and Z about it, He's the guy that can make a piece of shit looks like it shines,
Which is a pretty good thing to have for a hitman.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I think, and like I said at the beginning, I think that's a very special skill of a lot of hitmen, that they can just talk their way in and out of things. And also just kind of slip in and out of situations where you don't have these red flags go up that you've got to look at this guy. Most hitmen, they don't look like complete psychopaths, right? They look like people that fit into society, which is why so many hitmen seem to have these very normal wives, families, normal upbringings, these things that just seem like, oh, this is just a guy that's sitting here at the supermarket, but really he's staking out another person inside the supermarket that he's going to kill.
Yeah.
Like
that he's been sent here.
But you don't think twice about him because he looks normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
So that's our first one, and we'll be back next week with another hitman.
Yep.
Or actually not next week because vacation, but the week after that.
Soon.
In the meantime, if you want to check out some bonus episodes while we're gone, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/murderdictionarypodcast. And before we get out of here, we wanted to say thank you to a few people that joined our Patreon this week. We want to say thank you to Katie, Maisha, Joey, and Laura, who increased her pledge.
Thank you.
So thanks, you guys, for being on our Patreon, and definitely check out our bonus episodes. So with all that said, I think we can get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So be nice to each other and have a good vacation, Court.
Oh, thanks.
And then we'll see you next time.
Sure will.
Bye.
Bye.
Introducing the Capital One Walmart Rewards Card. Earn unlimited 5% back on everything you buy at Walmart online. It's the perfect card for all your family's hints this holiday season. Like 5% back on the air fryer Grandpa told you about when he fell asleep in his chair.
It'll fry anything.
Or 5% back on the laptop your sister had carolers sing to you.
2 turtle doves and a laptop for Carrie.
The Capital One Walmart Rewards Card. Earn unlimited rewards, including 5% back at Walmart online. What's in your wallet?
Terms and exclusions apply. Capital One N.A.
And now, a thought from Geico Motorcycle.
It took 15 minutes to take a spirit animal quiz online.
Please be the cheetah. Please be the cheetah.
And learn your animal isn't the cheetah, but the far less appealing blobfish.
Oh, come on.
To add insult to injury, you could have used those 15 blobfish minutes to switch your motorcycle insurance to Geico.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance.